We have had a couple of conversations about loving yourself, finding your voice, saying no. Let's dig a little bit deeper into self-advocacy. Hello and welcome to Ladies Listen Up. I am your host, Gwendolyn, 𝐠 𝐕𝐨𝐢𝐜. All right, we gotta get into some more nitty gritty right now. I'm sitting here at the bar. I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna get in my comfy mode real quick and talk to you because we have been having these discussions, looking at the past 2 seasons. We've been having these discussions about self-love and growing your voice, being heard, saying no. We have talked about it. And we haven't really honed in on the work. Well, yes and no. We have worked on some things here and there. We will continue to hammer some of these discussions because we're talking about worth. Self-worth, recognizing that you are worthy right where you are. And for those of us who feel beaten down, who feel as if I don't deserve to be heard, to be seen. And then some of this work is really hard. It's extremely hard. So we are talking about today being your best self-advocate. Now, clearly, you are your best self-advocate, or I should say you should be. And I know I shouldn't say should. I shouldn't say should, but I'm going to say it. Only because who else is going to speak up for you than you? Now, you may have some family and friends who always jump in, and that's great. But sometimes those family and friends assume what you really want to say. They assume it. We don't want any assumptions. We want to talk about us using that voice, being seen, being heard. This is that conversation. So like I said, I got my glass out here at the bar. We gonna get into it today. Today's lesson is being your best self-advocate. All right, y'all ready? Okay, I think I'm ready. Let's get to it, shall we? So self-advocacy, what is that about? Okay, so it is about, I'm going to do some layman terms here, so work with me. It is about speaking up for yourself. But more importantly, it is about ensuring your needs are heard and more importantly, respected. Yeah, like I get that you hear me, but you're not respecting me. And let me go back and add to that. Let me add to that. Not just your needs, but your rights. Because there again are some people who want to just like run all over us and act as if we should be thankful that they're here to speak for us. You ain't got to speak for me, partner. Like, I got this. I've said it once, I will say it again. Easier said than done. Do you know how difficult it is to open your mouth? You know, yeah, well, depending on how old you are, but they would say closed mouths don't get fed. I don't know how many times I told my team that. Closed mouths don't get fed. So if we're in this training class and you don't get what I'm talking about, you better say something. But think about how society makes us feel when we ask questions. There is this sort of underlying tone of, you should know this, or you're simple, or asking questions means that you don't know. That's why I'm asking the question, because I don't know. Hello, McFly. That's why I'm asking, because I don't know. Yes. Let's talk about self-advocacy, shall we? When we're working on this, and we're going to give some tips as always, when you decide to become your best self-advocate, and I know I shouldn't say best because it really is you, but again, if you're like me, you've had some people who like to speak for you. And I didn't have too many. I had a couple of folks who was like, well, you know how she is, you know, she's shy, she blah, blah. I don't need you saying anything about, no, I got this. I got it. Well, I'm sure she meant that's not what I meant, because it's not what I said. We'll talk about tone some other time. But it is empowering, you know, to be able to sit at a table, to be into any space, go into any space, be in any situation, and be able to articulate what you mean to a variety of people and stand up for yourself. You know what that feels like? Man, that's magic. That's great magic. It is strength. It's magic. It doesn't have to be that big. You know, it can be something as simple as, I can't have nuts in my dish. And there were nuts in my dish. Now, I have seen people, depending on what the food is. Now, if you have severe allergies, you're not playing. But I have seen people say, no, it's not that big a deal. I can just pick it out. You could. I'm the person who says, this wine that you just brought me, it's not cold enough. It should be at least about 47, 48. This feels like a 55, 56. Real story, by the way, real story. Had some champagne. Actually, it was cava, but whatever. And it was clear that it had been sitting out somewhere. So much so that when we poured it, the bubbles were like, duh, duh, duh. And it was warm. Called the young lady to the table, said, say, man, this is not cold enough. And she actually questioned me like, well, how do you know how cold it is? Let me tell you real quick. I don't have to have a thermometer to tell you that this is too warm. You know why? Because I'm at the restaurant and I don't want the bottle you're serving me because I don't like the way it tastes and the way it feels in my mouth. Get me a new bottle. But yes, she tried me. Now, we shouldn't have to go to those extremes. We should be able to say, hey, I am paying for this meal. I don't like the bottle that you're serving. Right? Like, why question it? But that is empowering. Now, my brother was like, Gwendolyn, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal because I'm paying for that bottle. It's a big deal. It is empowering when you stand up for yourself. And I mean in everything. We take the little things. We're like, it's no big deal. It is a big deal. It's a huge deal. And let me go back to this. Using this restaurant example, which is real. It's about respect. Now, you would think as a restaurant, if your visitors are not happy with the glass of wine that they're drinking, your question should be, oh my God, I'm so sorry. How can we make this right? Not, well, how do you know how cold it is? Seriously, kid? Seriously. It's the lack of respect that gets it for me. When you are your best self-advocate, you are teaching others to consider your needs, your wants, to respect you as the person that you are. No, I don't want XYZ. No, I don't want to go to blah, blah, blah again. My husband says to me, you don't want to go camping, you want to go glamping. Okay, first of all, I don't want to go camping, period, but I will go because he wants to go. Now, there is a little place that's not part of this conversation for doing things for your loved ones, but that's not what it's about. Why they came up, I don't know. It was just one of those examples that really didn't fit. But I've already shared it, so we're gonna roll with this example. But it's about respect. And some of us do have associates, colleagues, friends who are always pushing their wants and needs on everybody else. And a lot of us just gotta roll with it. At a certain point, you gotta say no, no, and no. I don't like this. I don't want to be around it. So the answer for me is no. We need respect. Respect how I feel. Respect my opinion. We don't have to agree. It's not about agreement. It's about respect. That's what I'm asking for. No, I'm demanding it. And you know what else we demand when we become our best self-advocate? We demand of ourselves to be better communicators. All right. Clear, concise communication. I'm going to throw in there assertive. I'm going to throw in assertive communication. But here's the deal. When you are clear about your communication, I believe by default it is assertive. When I go to places and I ask for a Kleenex, I am not asking for a tissue. I am asking for Kleenex. It is a brand. If I ask you for a Sprite, I am not looking for a Sierra Mist or Starry or whatever they sell it that looks like no. Clear, concise communication. There is no place in here where you could be unaware of what I'm saying. Now, check it. We have talked about me and my communication, that I pause a great deal, not because I stutter, although it helped me think through what I want to say. But as I grew in my communication, I realized whatever I put out in the world, I can't take back. When you ring the bell, you cannot unring it. So whatever you say, trust you meant to say that. So I think it through. And I also consider my audience. And I say, okay, Gwendolyn, how do you say this? And you'll probably, I do it live. Okay, so trust me. I don't care where I am. When I am talking through my thought process, I talk it out, literally. I'll be with people and I'll say, you know what, how do I say this graciously? I'm trying to find the right word. Like I am telling them that I am taking the time to think through what I'm about to say. Because I want to be clear in my communication. I don't want any kinds of misinterpretations of what I'm saying. So when I talk to people, trust, you know exactly what I'm saying. There is not I just thought, okay, so let me go back to the husband really quick. Because I remember when we first got together, when we got married, he asked me about dinner. I said, hey, bring me a hot dog. And he literally brought me a hot dog with just bread and like the wiener. That was it. No condiments, no nothing. No nothing. And I was hot. So I learned then, even though I assumed assumptions that my husband should know by now how I like my hot dogs, I need to be more clear with Mr. Jack about what I want to eat. So let me say that. Being your best self-advocate does help grow your communication skills. You take your time. You desire to be clear in your communication. You don't like to walk around the mulberry bush. You're not good with the vague answers. You want to be clear. And it feels good to be clear because there are no misunderstandings when you are clear and concise about what you're saying. Some of us talk a lot and we have said nothing. Which, let me just go ahead and put this out here for some people. I admit, When I find people are talking in loops, I'm like, what's the point here? I need you to get to it. I need you to get to it. That's my time right here. Get to it already. What are you saying? And I try very hard, and I shouldn't say try. I really do work on not interrupting people, but trust me when I say get to the point. My boss, back in the day, when she would bring me in for feedback, and we had two different managing styles. She would like to do the sort of, let me give you something soft and cushy and then give you feedback and then work on it. That's not Gwendolyn. When I had my team, I asked every single person on my team, how do you prefer your feedback? So I can make sure, knowing my audience, how it should be framed for them. Me, what do you want to say to me so I can get back to what I'm doing? That's it. I'm too old for some of this. So I had to stop her. I said, look, what's the feedback? Like, what's the deal? Because you're not helping me here. If anything, it's wasting my time. Let's get to it already. Great, got it. So much so that I would come to her with feedback. Be like, look, this guy called, he upset. I'm gonna work on it, talk to you later. Deuces. I was that employee. But let's talk about another part of being your best self-advocate is creating healthy boundaries. Because some of us don't have the boundaries. We don't know how to create these boundaries in our relationships. And that could be family, friends, and work relationships. And I say work relationships because they are not your family. There are people that I still talk to that we have developed our own relationship outside of work. That at this point, 30 years in, yes, they like my cousins. That's 30 years right there though. But there are other folks that I have known for just as long, and they are just that, colleagues and associates and something else. But we need boundaries. How far can we go? Where do we draw that line? Where is it? Right? Like where is it? But we need boundaries. And saying no can be really hard. I know I've said it, but I mean it. It is hard to get no out because depending on who you are, depending like at your core, who you are, you feel as if you should say yes to everything. And I admit, I was there at one point, saying yes to everything, trying to be everywhere for every person. Meanwhile, when I do my own events, the good thing is, I don't operate as in, if you don't come to my event, I won't come to your event. I don't do that. That's not how I operate. If I truly believe in what you're doing and I am one of your fans, one of your cheerleaders, I'm a rah-rah all the time. So that's great. And because I tend to do what I do for me, I don't necessarily need a rah-rah back here. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But I don't need the rah-rah. We are all in different stages of our lives. But we need those boundaries. When people who want to constantly bring their emotional baggage to your door, no. My bags are already on my back. I'm already overloaded. I don't have the emotional capacity to pick up your BS and take mine too. And we have friends like that. I had at this point, she's no longer a friend, but I had an associate like that who would always call and spend time over time talking about her stuff. Hello, can I get a hello? How are you doing? Oh, you're still alive. Can I get that first before you bring it? And I know in the beginning, it can be hard to determine if this person is just here to dump. And then they go missing for 6 months and then they show up again when it's time to dump again. But you'll pick up the patterns if you choose to pick up the patterns. If we choose to pick up the patterns, they do reveal themselves. But we need those healthy boundaries. Say yes to you first, and then if you have anything left, I will give you what I have to give. That's fine. What else does it do when you become your best self-advocate? Well, it definitely boosts the confidence. Yes, it will boost the confidence and your self-esteem. I believe that's a given. I think it comes with, just by nature of speaking up for yourself, creating these boundaries, saying no. You know how no is so powerful. The first time you do, you're like, ooh, girl, I just told them no. No, I'm not picking up any extra shifts because I got things to do this weekend. I know, right? Crazy. It feels good though. It feels really good. You get this boost that you just never felt before. Never felt before. You know what else it does? You know what else it does? You don't have any resentment. Now you may have something, but it can prevent resentment. Let me say it like that. Because you have voiced your concerns. You know how you leave a conversation and you're like, man, I should have said this. I could have said that. I wish I had said this. Stop, shoulda, coulda, wouldas. There are no wishes. Say what you need to say and be done with it. Now, I will say this. I am known to give myself some time, because if I am charged emotionally, it's not going to come out right. Remember that tone thing? It's not going to come out right. So I like to put things on a back burner. Not too long, not a day, like minutes, like 15, 20 minutes. All right, let's talk about this real quick, because I need to get my words together and get my mind right. It's like leaving a voicemail. You should never leave a voicemail when you are still emotionally charged, because it comes through in the voicemail. The tone is way off, like way off. So don't do that. But because you have voiced your frustrations, you have voiced your concerns, there is a lower chance of having any resentment towards someone or a situation. That's a positive. And then lastly, if I may, it reduces stress, right? When you feel ignored, when you feel like nobody's listening to you, when you feel like nobody cares, you can start carrying some stress, especially right here in your shoulders, like right up in here. You don't have that stress because you have expressed yourself. It is freeing to put it out into the world. Now, I know some of us like to write things down, and I love a good journal. But nothing changes if we don't tell people what could be and probably should be adjusted. That no, you need to use my full name. No, my name is not Sally. It's Samantha. And you calling me Sally clearly says you have no care or concern for who you're talking to in this moment. And I'm telling you right, that is like straight disrespect. Get my name right. Like, if anything, get my name right. Okay. We have covered the pluses of being your best self-advocate, self-advocacy. Let's talk about doing some work, shall we? Okay, so let me come to you straight. First things first is know your rights. Now, your rights will depend, if we're talking school, work, your relationships, it's different contexts, but know your rights as a state citizen, all those things. Because your rights as an employee is one thing, whereas if you are a student, you have different rights there, whereas you are a citizen of XYZ state, right? So know your rights. Healthcare, what else? School, work, okay, yeah, that's about it. But know your rights, know what you're entitled to. As a person who had to quarterly take an employment law quiz, There is nothing more upsetting than talking to family and friends who I know are in a situation and is violating their employee rights. It took everything in me to not go up to that McDonald's where my grandson was working, and I mean everything in me, to not be that grandparent. Because I knew that his rights were not being respected, clearly violated. Now, we gave him some tips and things on how to work through it, but I was like, oh, dear Lord, give me all the patience right now. But think about it. When you don't know your rights, people will often take advantage of you. And that's awful. It is awful. So know your rights. Something else is practice being assertive. Now, I know people call them hard conversations. They are not hard conversations. What you want to do is be able to have a conversation where you can speak confidently and respectfully, but with assertiveness. That's all. And the good thing is, a lot of these AI tools, these little GPT bots and whatnot, they can practice with you to try out a conversation. Don't you love technology? Ha! That's great. We've also talked about those boundaries. Make sure that you are setting clear boundaries. Communicate those boundaries as well. Because nothing is worse than being out there and next thing you know, you're caught up in something. Don't let that happen. Make it clear. Very, well, how do I want to say it? Not very. At the beginning. Yeah, right at the top. Right at the top. Make it clear what it is that is okay and not okay with you. Now, my name, I'm sure you guys have already heard it. I am big about my name. That is the first sign of disrespect, which is not using someone's preferred name. Set those boundaries. All right, last two things. Seek support. Get some family, get some friends, get a counselor. Get someone that you can work with to help you on growing your self-advocacy. And lastly, stay informed. There are plenty of resources out here that can help you become better at what you're doing. Again, some of those basics could just be going to your state or government site and checking out what your rights are as a renter, as a student, as an employee. Like, know those things. That will make all of the difference in you strengthening your self-advocacy skills. Skills? Talents? Skills? Talents? We'll be skilled and talented. Okay, I like that. Okay. We've got this going. We've got work to do. What's left? Giving yourself the space and grace to grow and learn. See you in the next one.